and we're co-directors here at Check. And we're so excited to come to you this evening. We're going to talk to you about, well, Cindy's organizational needs.
Well, I thought we were talking about like general organizational needs.
Somewhat general, more so specific to you.
Well, I didn't know that. So I thought we were just going to offer homeschoolers some organizational techniques.
So absolutely.
Okay.
And you are a homeschooler.
I am. I have 3 kids. Technically, I only homeschool 2. The other one I'm just hoping just kind of goes along with everything else.
Oh, she will.
Is that a good plan? Okay,
yes,
great.
Perfect.
Jeannie is a mother of
7.
7. Excellent. I have 3 kids, and are we doing okay?
I think, yeah.
I think we're doing okay.
I'm really only homeschooling, what, 3,
5,
maybe 4?
6? I don't know. We're homeschooling. We're doing okay. They're college bound. And today we're going to talk about organizing all of the stuff. Jeannie, there's so much stuff.
There's so much stuff. And
There's so much
honestly, the more you homeschool, the more stuff you're going to have.
There's so much stuff. So as we ended our school year at our community, we ended it this week, actually.
I know.
It was such a great year. And we just ended it tonight, actually, with a spelling bee, and they did so great.
It was amazing.
They're so cute. I love them. So I had Jeannie over this week, and I said, now I want you to help me wrap up my school year. Because every year what was happening was I was finishing my school year, and the stuff just was like, well, I couldn't part with this. I couldn't part with that. So Jeannie came over with all of her expertise and helped save the day. So we're here in my homeschooling area, which is really, I guess some people maybe call this the formal dining room. Is that what some people use this for?
I think they do.
I don't know what they use this space for. We call it the homeschooling area. And then we just eat in the kitchen.
Right.
So she came over and she helped me, and you kind of blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, I am not a keeper.
She's not a keeper. She's a purger.
I'm a purger.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Cindy asked me to come over, the first thing I said to her was, how attached are you to your stuff?
Yeah. I was hoping she was going to stick to the homeschooling section of my home, but I was so desperate for help because professional organizers charge this is no joke, $75, $85, $95 an hour. Ooh. Yeah. And I bought you Chipotle. So I got off cheap. So, but I was just, so I did. Well, not cheap, but it was a bargain for me. So I didn't want to tell her she couldn't get rid of her stuff, but I was kind of secretly praying that she would stick to the homeschooling area. But I just said, I'm really open. I think the exact text was something like, I'm open to getting rid of anything you think would make a big difference in my life.
Yes. And here's the thing. It's really what you think is going to make a big difference in your life.
Yes.
So I don't want to get rid of anything that you're totally attached to.
Right.
And we talked about that. Yes.
I've seen Hoarders. If you guys have watched the Hoarders show, I've seen it many times. And you were very kind.
Yes. There's nothing that if you're really attached to it that you should get rid of. But here's one of the things that amazed me. And you tell me this a lot, but I don't believe her. So maybe you guys can chime in.
That tends to happen to me. But
she tends to tell me that some of the things that I think are just completely natural that everybody knows, that not everybody knows it.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys have that organized friend that's like, well, doesn't everybody have a label maker and they label everything? And they just genuinely believe that the whole world operates how they operate. And she'll say things and I'm like, well, no, Jeannie, that's just not how everyone thinks or does. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. That's Jeannie. So she's hyper organized. Please tell everybody how you organize your bookshelves. This is going to tell you a lot.
Oh my goodness. Oh, the bookshelf thing. I should never have told you this.
No, please tell them.
So okay.
There's many different categories. Don't leave anything off the table, Jeannie. Tell them everything. Tell them everything.
Okay, so the bookshelf
I have a feeling
thing.
she wasn't very fun in college. I'm just saying.
The bookshelf thing is just one of those things. You know how when you have like tons of stuff to do on your plate, but instead you like organize a closet?
No, some of us don't know. But please continue to tell the people because there are people like you.
So what I did was during the time when I was overwhelmed with everything else that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Overwhelmed with coronavirus, 7 children, her college kid home from school,
all that.
Planning a road trip this summer that's now all discombobulated. When she had all that on her plate, this is what she did.
So what I did was I went through my fiction readers. So the nonfiction readers are already on a different shelf. They're in the schoolroom as nonfiction readers.
Whose aren't?
So with the fiction books, I decided to go through and either I put them by copyright of like when they were first written or by when the time period was. So then now when we're studying the 1800s, we have a whole bookshelf that's like either written in the 1800s or it's about life in the 1800s. And you can do this too. It only took a few hours.
And she thinks this is normal. So we're just going to put her as #goals. But she came over and was very realistic to accept that, although I think she judges, she accepts that this is not everyone's #bookshelf.
And we didn't really even get into your fiction book, so we'll do that another day.
Okay.
So what we did was go through her homeschool materials.
Yes.
And basically what we did was we created a shelf, and I don't know if you can see it behind us, but we created a shelf of teacher,
okay,
what do you call it? Teacher materials, so that
this is your top shelf.
Exactly, of teacher materials that you're using, but not necessarily your students are using. And then one of the things that blew her mind, which I thought was funny, was we have to have a place where our students know where they can get their homeschool materials. So when you say, grab your math workbook, grab your grammar, that they know where it is. So in our house, we created with IKEA, which who doesn't love IKEA? We made a little desk, and everybody has their own little set of drawers, but I know not everybody has that area. So what we did was we created a spot where it was like, oh, this kid's materials are in one spot. So when it's time to say, oh, your kindergartner, hey, grab your phonics book and bring it over, they know exactly where it is. And you can also hold them accountable. So when your stuff is hanging out on the table, you can say, go put your stuff back where it belongs.
So what I had was one big shelf with basically this year's stuff. And it was all just kind of mixed in, but then other shelves got confused and they put games on other shelves. So she separated shelf number 3 to child. So this would be child number 3, 2, 1. And separated all of their stuff so they have a section on the bookshelf. So that was her recommendation for people who don't, organize by chronological order and date written and copyrighted, and if it was covered.
This is workbooks. This is something totally different.
4 times. We did also there was probably 2 trash bags that we threw away.
I think it was only one.
One big trash bag.
It really wasn't bad. Yeah, you didn't really have a lot of stuff. And then another thing that really blew Cindy's mind, which I thought was obvious, but obviously wasn't obvious, obviously wasn't, is just giving their kids a place where they can put their things. Because whose kids don't draw pictures or write a story or get, foreign coins from an aunt who went overseas and then that's what they brought them back, right? And what do you do with all that stuff? So we made sure that every kid had a place where they could stick all that stuff, all their treasures. They love them. They're treasures.
The things that you have to wait at least 30 to 60 days to throw away, because if not, you're just ridiculed. This is what blew my mind. She came over here and she said, well, where's their drawer? And I said, well, what do you mean, Jeannie? Do you mean where they put their homeschool stuff? And she goes, no, their drawer, where they put their treasures and their stuff. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. This cabinet here, if you can see.
And it's got the perfect, she has 3 kids. Look
just
at this.
Kept piling up with all of those treasures she talked about. And they would pile up with all the treasures. And then eventually I would go through them and toss them. But then she said, well, no. Don't you want them to feel like they have a place for their stuff? And I'm like, well, I do, Jeannie, but I didn't think of that. So now, but this is genius because this is the junk drawer.
Yes.
What she said is the kids need a junk drawer. I know you've all given your husband a junk drawer. My husband has a junk drawer in the kitchen, and he might even have 2 in our master bedroom. Because, you can't throw away their stuff. They get all offended by it, and they're like, I'm an adult too. And you're like, I know, but you hoard your stuff. So I gave my husband, I don't even have a huge kitchen, but he has a whole drawer in the kitchen just for junk. Yes. And then another one in the master bedroom. Like a master bedroom drawer that would be for clothing. It's a huge junk drawer. So she goes, well, your kids need this. Blew my mind. Yeah. So homeschooling moms, school moms, anyone with children, people other than yourself that live in your house, get them a junk drawer.
You need a junk drawer.
You need a junk drawer.
Yeah. And you need a place, if you're not like me and you're not like an automatic tosser, which I am, but if you're somebody that likes to look at something for at least a little bit of time, you need a place to put it.
Or they say, how your kids say they're still working on it? Well, no, I'm still working on that stick figure. And please don't throw that away. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't dare, darling. You put it in a junk drawer, which we just did this. And I've already found myself, let's see. Oh, I have some, as Jeannie was saying, some miscellaneous coins. Not sure what that is and how long that'll last in the house, but for now it's in the drawer. And I have, let's see, and I have in the one, oh yes, my darling daughter started drawing treasures, some treasures. Found them on the table, was trying to pick up the table. and poof, down into her new junk drawer.
And we won't call it a junk drawer for the kids.
Oh, okay.
We're going to say it's their special drawer. It's their special drawer.
Okay, special drawer.
Yes.
Your special
so it's
drawer.
your special drawer to put stuff in. So when they make something that's just so beautiful that you can't get rid of it, you put it in their special drawer.
Yes, their special drawer.
Yes. And then after 6 months, 3 months or so, and you know that they're not going to miss it anymore, you
go through their special drawer.
Yes. And and what I do is I take pictures of their special stuff.
Wait, do you go through their special drawer with them, or you just oh, okay. So you're kind of like just without their permission.
Do you go through your husband's junk drawer?
I wouldn't dare. He would get so upset.
I go through my husband's junk drawers.
Oh no, you do? Oh no, I couldn't. I couldn't.
It's like, hey, honey, where'd all those CDs go that we no longer have CD player for? That know.
Oh no.
So I don't know where the CDs went.
Oh yeah, I can't do that. I did it one time when we were dating. You know how there was corduroy pants were in style?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Okay. So there were thin corduroy pants and then thick corduroy pants. So he had these thick corduroy pants, and I couldn't even look at him when he was wearing them and they had cuffs on the bottom, like genuine cuffs, like they were dress pants. And every time I wore them, I was like, Cindy, he's such a good man. He's so kind. I had to look past these thick corduroy pants. So one time we were just dating and we didn't live together. I went and I gave away the thick corduroy pants. It didn't bode well for me.
Okay. So depending on the man that you're married to and the children that you have, you may need to go through with them.
Do you find that if I went through with them, because I feel like especially my firstborn, it wouldn't go well. Do you find that they learn to purge and give stuff away if I did?
Well, here's some of the things that we say. Here's, your drawer's only this big. Right. And you're getting more stuff. So let's put some of the older stuff away.
Okay.
Until later.
And then they get it.
Yeah. And then, some of the stuff, now we do use our attic. And I know Cindy didn't really use her attic too much. We use our attic. So we have some things in our attic that were really special to me that I didn't want to get rid of from the kids or were really special to them. Also, a great place to put it is in the end of the year portfolio for your school. Some of the artwork that they did that was amazing, even if it wasn't curriculum related, but it was stuff that they drew that they were proud of or they wrote that they were proud of. Feel free to include that in the portfolio.
Okay.
And that way it's something to do. And the portfolio really shouldn't be any thicker than, it's not real thick. You're only keeping it 10 to 20% of the stuff that they do. So you don't have to worry about keeping every math problem that they did throughout the year or every paper that they wrote. You're really picking the best.
Okay.
And it's through August through May or whenever your
school year ends.
Whenever your school year ends, yes. And you're picking some of the best stuff.
So speaking of our school year ending, so a lot of the stuff we went through was this year's curriculum. Which, what I did is I bought all of this curriculum and we did 100% of it. And we finished it all with excellence, like every other homeschool mom.
Yes, absolutely.
I bought all of this stuff with lofty ideas at the beginning of the year, and we just nailed it, Jeannie.
That's amazing.
I mean, I am a homeschool phenom. But there was some stuff left over that my grandiose ideas were greater than the time allotted to do them. So we did go through a lot of this year's curriculum that I didn't get to. And that was kind of tough because you allowed me to keep some of it, but a lot of it, you told me, you gave me a giveaway pile that I'll bring to our community for anyone that would like to reuse it. But then a lot of it you had me toss. And in your experience, you said that
okay, so I tend to get to places where they're giving away a lot of free curriculum. And when I was a younger homeschooler, those books on subtraction or multiplication or those science books about marine biology, that were workbooks and you thought, oh, that'd be really fun to add to the things that we're doing. I tend to find that we don't do a lot of those separate things because they're doing their math curriculum and their science curriculum, and we don't have a lot of time for those extra workbooks.
So what you're saying is that even though I had purchased or got for free all of those things, I'm not next year going to turn into that mom that does those things?
That does those things, exactly.
Will I ever turn into that mom that does those things?
I don't know a mom that does those things.
So why are we all tricked into believing we should do these things?
I don't know. I don't know why we think that more worksheets are better. And so I gave that up a few years ago. I decided that I was going to go through, and with having 7 children, I also thought, well, I didn't get to it with this child, but I bet the next child will get to it.
Oh, my third kid has 10 workbooks.
Yes.
I'm like, they're going to be the smartest kindergartner in the whole world.
But
watch out, world.
But you don't change. So maybe your children change a little and their learning styles change, but as a mom, you don't change.
Well, I haven't even taught that one all 26 letters. So chances of us getting through 5 half-used kindergarten workbooks
Probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen.
And you know what? If you have the room and you want to keep a couple of those things to do like here and there, like have at it. But when you have a limited space or when you're overwhelmed by just the disorganization of your life, then that's the thing you get rid of.
Okay.
You know, the things that you're not married to. It's not specific curriculum. It's not the thing that you definitely want to teach your child, you know, whatever's important to your heart. If important to your heart is like this Bible curriculum that you haven't done yet, but you just, you know, you can't part with it, don't part with it.
Okay.
You know, part with the multiplication workbook because they're going to get to multiplication in 3rd grade, 2nd grade.
Wait, my kindergartner won't do multiplication?
Not necessarily.
I have super smart kids, just like
Yes.
all of y'all.
So, you know, so part with that book. And here's the thing too, that I realized as just a person, as a human being, was I have limited space in my house.
Mm-hmm. I do too. And most of us do. No matter how big your home is, it just seems
right. There's a limit somewhere.
There's a limit.
So if you were keeping this book, and a lot of these books, these workbooks are what? $7,
They're
$12
or less. I mean, a lot of them I've gotten at like Goodwill or thrift stores.
And you're not going to use them for 4 years. How much would you charge them rent in your house?
Mm.
You know, that space of rent in your house, you know, if it's not moving, sort of like if you're in a retail environment, if product's not moving, what do? You clearance them and you get them out of there. Right. So if you decide that, yes, when you're now kindergartner or upcoming kindergartners in 3rd grade, when you decide they need an extra multiplication book, go to Costco and buy one for $5.
Okay.
And in the meantime, your room will have been much more organized and you will feel better. I feel better when my room is organized.
Oh, I mean, just since the week you've come, I come out here and sit and have a cup of tea and just kind of stare. I feel weightless. It feels great.
Yeah. And when the room's disorganized, I mean, this is personally, I feel unhappy almost.
Well, I don't know if I recognize that feeling because I'm not the super hyper organized person, but I definitely feel some sense. It feels different than it does now since you came over and helped me.
There's a little bit of peace, at least, that you feel with it that you don't necessarily feel. And I think that God is ordered, right?
He's so ordered.
Yes. I mean, the sun rises every single day and it sets every single day. And there's seasons that happen. And I think he's ordered. And I think when we're ordered, we have a little bit of that divineness in us.
So when I would like more of Jeannie's divineness.
Divinity.
So when she always is correcting my grammar.
No, I said it first.
So let me ask you, it's like curriculum buying season now.
Yes.
I'm super excited.
I know, I am too.
I'm like, I can't. All the emails and they're like, hurry, don't wait. Because the whole country's homeschooling, there may not be any left. And I'm like, I know. Let me buy everything I want for my kindergartner that's going to do Algebra 1.
Yes.
So what have you learned in your season? I don't know if you guys can tell, but she's the wiser one, which also means like just. What have you learned in your season when it comes to curriculum buying season, which we're in, which is a very exciting time?
It is.
I don't even know if I can compare this to anything.
People call it box day. Like they're excited when their boxes come.
Box day. Yeah, so I'm very excited, but I'm a little more weary because my oldest is going to be in 5th grade. So I'm not new to this. And I've wasted a lot of money. If you are watching this and you know my husband, please don't tell him. But I have wasted a lot of money over the years. And especially with everything going on right now, I'd like to be a little more conscious of that. So how do I not just click, 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 thinking my child's going to be a science genius, a whatever genius? Like, what have you learned over the years that stops you from overbuying?
I guess one of the things that I've learned over the years is I have a limited amount of time. And a lot of these programs are teacher intensive. So there's been a lot of times where I've bought a teacher intensive curriculum and I've started it and I've just realized, wow, this is not going to work.
So by teacher intensive, you mean it's not student led?
Right.
But at what grade can we expect to purchase something and really it to be more student led than teacher led? Where's that fence, if you call it?
Yeah. And
I know it's per kid, but let's give like a bout.
Right. And I think 3rd grade is a good term because you've sat with them for kindergarten, you sat with them for 1st grade, you sat with them for 2nd grade. By 3rd grade, if they're reading well. And
you're expecting a little bit more independence.
A little bit more independence. I think that every year we opt for a little more independence. So, you know, you're sitting with them doing all of it and then maybe you sit with them and do half of it and then you try a quarter of it.
And when do we get to the grade that we sit with them?
Well,
not that I'm in a rush. I love my time.
I just went over my college daughter's essay.
So never?
So never.
Okay.
I really don't think you ever get
She's
to that
just
time.
full of good news.
It's good news.
Full of good news. Don't you love having a
but
mentor?
isn't it great that your 18-year-old college daughter still wants your input on her essays? That's a good thing.
Yes, it is sweet and kind.
It is.
Yes.
And she got a 97, I think, on the essay that I helped her with. So there you go.
Good job. Does she still expect you to
honors.
make her a snack, or can she handle that?
No, snacks she can handle. I still have to plan all the meals.
Oh, okay. So you tell her what the snack is and she'll get it herself.
She can totally get the snack herself.
So
and she can totally make the dinner as long as she knows what she's making.
So the light at the end of the tunnel is, I don't even know.
And there's like partial independence.
Okay, great. Partial independence. Excellent.
But how you prevent from buying is just really sit down with yourself almost. Okay. And just say, Cindy, am I going to use this with my child?
I feel like it's a no.
Right. If you feel like it's almost like, okay, so this is how I feel now when I buy clothes, is that when I try it on, what I used to do when I buy clothes is I used to be like, I think I like this. Well, now I don't buy clothes unless I walk out in the dressing room and I'm like, I love this.
But how often does that happen?
I don't know, but however often it happens, it doesn't happen very often.
So you just wait for it.
I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Okay.
Because I've realized that if I don't love it in the store, which makes you look good, I think.
They're trying to, at least. I mean, the lighting's not great, but you're in the, like, your energy's there. You're like, I'm getting something new. This is fun.
If I don't love it there, I'm not going to love it home.
Okay, but then how do I balance? I'm more like literature, writing minded. Science was never really my thing. I think in high school, if one of my teachers ever saw this, what was his name? He was so sweet, but he suspended me for like 5 days.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I failed some science. Anyways, all that to say, science has never been my thing. So I'm not attracted to it. So those are the things I tend to do less of, which I'm so grateful that our co-op, like next year we're doing biology.
Yes.
Because that's what's so great about communities is they fill in the gaps for you. I always think of me, I'm the colander, the strainer, and then, co-ops and God just kind of fill in those holes that I naturally have. But so when you're saying that, like, well, are you going to do it? Then it's always those things that get left behind.
Yeah.
Like the literature or the writing program, I'm like, let's wake up, girls. This is what we're going to do because I love it. So should I be striving to do more of the things I don't love, or should I be, I don't know. What do I do?
There's like the whole, I don't know if you've heard this before. I'm sure you have. If you're a homeschooler for any amount of time, it's like the bunny and the fish and the bird. I have no idea what she's talking about. And this is, again, one of those things where she's like, the bunny, the fish, and the bird reference. The bunny, the bird reference.
No one knows this reference, Jeanne.
Okay, so the bunny, fish, and the bird, right? So do we punish the bunny because he can't fly or he can't swim? Or do we go ahead and say, hey, you're really good at hopping. Let's give you some more opportunities to show off that hopping.
You guys remember this story from
you
when
remember
you were
this
young.
Story, right?
Don't shame the bunny because he can't fly.
Stop making the bunny stop hopping and only fly and only swim because he needs like remedial swimming and flying.
Oh, okay. Well, no. I'm picking up what you're saying now because I'm just refreshing my memory from when I knew this when I was young. So you're saying but how does this relate to me?
Okay, so how this relates to you teaching science is if and here, this is the great thing about Cindy is she's self-aware. And this is a great thing for any homeschooler is just to sit with yourself and talk to yourself about
I've also
this.
had really great therapists. I feel like I should put that out there. Well, because it helps with the self-awareness.
Or therapy and self-awareness.
Yeah.
So if you had great therapists, so what you're always looking for, what do you do? What classes do you do? You don't take writing and literature classes. Your kids
for myself?
Your kids. They go in science classes.
They go in science classes, right? Yes. I take them to the science museum and I do all that.
Yes.
But I don't engage. I don't engage with science at home as much. And there's a lot of guilt of that because I know math and science.
Absolutely.
STEM. We're all STEM.
Yes, and you need to just drop the guilt because you're doing all the things that you need to do. You know that those aren't your high points necessarily as a teacher, and you're already seeking things in K 1, 2, 3, grades 4. I mean, you've already saw it like it's kind of stuff, and you're doing an amazing job there. So let that guilt go. So when you're
overbuy in those subjects, just because I feel like my guilt makes me overbuy.
And here we're all going to overbuy. You're going to buy something in this convention season, even if you don't go to a physical convention, which we may not be able to. Maybe you're going to go to a virtual convention. Maybe you're just going to look online. You're going to buy something you don't use this year. You know what? Let it go. It's okay. It's okay to not use it. It's okay to give it away next year. It's okay to sell it next year. not having been used at all. You know why? Because we're always learning and growing. And this poetry memorization thing sounds amazing. And I really want to do this with my children.
No, we're doing it this summer. My family is doing the poetry memorization. Yeah, that's it. Like we're doing it, but that's also my thing. But we're going to do it. But I get what you're saying. Like that's the thing that I bought for this year that I didn't get to. And this summer, I'm like, we're doing poetry memorization. So my husband has already memorized 3 poems, which is fantastic. It is such a win. The whole family's memorizing them. But that's the one thing that I was like, no. Like, like you were saying at the beginning, like something that if our heart's attached to it. Yes. My heart was attached. I really wanted this poetry in my children's hearts. Right. But for some reason, I'm not attached to the science. But you're saying just let that go. Right. I do the other things.
You realize that you're not attached to the science and you're doing the things that you need to do for your kids.
To the best of my ability. But I mean, there's still that insecurity that it's not enough.
So she's not going to buy like the science projects and the STEM projects and the things like that other STEM moms might buy because they're like, oh, they're going to love this, architecture project and they're going to love building bridges and maybe,
And I think my kids would love it, but I'm more like, I'm never going to do it.
Right. You're never going to do it. Right. And so maybe your thing is, and this is what I've done in the past. I'm like, oh, look at this grammar curriculum. Look at this writing curriculum. Look at this literature curriculum. And I've been very excited by that, but there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much time that I'm mentally prepared to give my kids, whatever they need to get. And there's only so much time. And so it's okay to let that go. It's okay to like at the end of the year, be like, wow, we didn't get to this. It's okay to save it. It's just not okay to save it for 10 years. Okay. At some point you need to recognize that, wow, I didn't get to this. This thing only cost me, say it's a really expensive one. Say you bought something that was $150 curriculum, which is very expensive, and you didn't get to it. Okay. 10 years. That's $15 a year.
It's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it on your
You did let me save a little, like, I don't know, about this much of books. Yes. You let me save. But there were a couple things that she had me get rid of that were brand new in the packages. I'm so ashamed. That were brand new in the packages that I had bought for this year. And I had to ask you, and I'm like, well, how much would these be if I wanted them? And I think you said like $20. Exactly. And I was like, you're right. When I cycled back to this in 5 years, $20 isn't worth.
Isn't worth keeping for 5 years. No, it's $5 a year. And it's just space on your shelf. Okay, if you have the space, great. But even if you have the space, still, do you need that book that you're constantly, pushing aside to let other things in? No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You don't need that.
So my takeaways would be, number one, especially the junk drawer.
Yeah.
Thank you for changing my life. Everyone, get your child a junk drawer. A big enough drawer where they can fit pieces of paper, crafts, money, candy. You said yours put candy in when they get candy, them for occasions.
They put money, they put, like sticks and dirt from outside. Like,
right.
All of that
Save
goes
all
in
the
that
sticks,
drawer.
all the dirt in your junk drawer. You go through what you'd say every quarter about?
I really haven't been through ours this year, but luckily it hasn't like gone up, but we definitely will go through it before the next school year.
Okay, that's great. So it might last a while depending on how long your junk drawer.
Right.
And then for our old curriculum, really go through it and determine, like, is my heart here? Or am I thinking I'm going to go through this curriculum because I'm just insecure and it's my weak point? And determine that with what you're going to get rid of.
Yes. And if you didn't use something all year, just figure out like when the next time you would use it. What's the next child's age that might possibly use it? Determine, would I really use that with that? Do they have the same learning style? And if it's 3, 4, 5 years in the future, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Especially, if you don't have the space. But even if you have the space, I imagine you'd forget about it.
Exactly.
For the people that have basements out there, I'm imagining you forget about it.
Yeah.
You're just not thinking about it. This just made me think it's a lot like kids' clothes. My children are all the same gender. And I used to save everything thinking like, well, it's for the next kid. It's for the next kid. And then what happened is the first one's a little petite. The second one's a little tall. So then they ended up being the same size at the same time. And then the third one wears the same 10 dresses over and over and over again. So I'm like, well, I'm saving all of this stuff. And they started to have their own style. So then you think like, oh, I'm going to use this for the next one. But that's what you were saying about the learning style. Well, is this the best fit for them? Is this the learning style for them?
Right.
So I think that as you get to know your kids, I'm going to take that into account too. Like, is my first one loves a good workbook. I'm sure you all have that child that just loves a good workbook. She'll put her own sticker on it. She'll reward herself. And she's like, I finished. My second one, it's a massive struggle to do 3 workbook sheets. So yes, saving 4 leftover workbooks for the second one would be a waste. So I think taking into account that is huge.
Well, and honestly, as a confession here, my first one didn't learn to read till she was a little bit older. I think they all read at different ages, but when it's your firstborn and they're not reading at 5, you get a little bit of that,
No, I don't know what that's like, Jeannie, because my firstborn was reading at 4.5.
You get a little that fear inside of you.
Do you guys ever have a friend that does everything better than you, but you have this one thing? This is my one thing. My firstborn I can't even take credit for it, but could literally read out of the Bible 4.5. I taught her nothing. I don't even, just straight from God. But, I'm so glad that your firstborn wasn't, because I don't know what that's like.
So she wasn't. And so she just didn't work with the traditional like workbook approaches, all the approaches of like homeschool moms and veteran homeschool moms that I was asking, like, how do I teach my child to read? Wasn't working for her. And so something that worked for her was called Sing, Spell, Read, and Write. And it was very teacher intensive. It included a lot of songs, a lot of readers. Anyway, so I bought this thing. It had, I think it was cassette tapes.
Oh, score.
At the time that I bought it.
Yeah. That's where she gets that wisdom from, everybody. Woo! She has curriculum with cassette tapes.
I think that
True
it might
story.
Still be in my attic.
I think we're going to need to see that.
That's one of those things that like when you put it in your attic and you put it away, and I just kept it because I was like, what if another child doesn't learn to read like the traditional way? And
I'll pull out the cassette tapes.
I'll pull out the cassette tapes.
I will. And I'll borrow a cassette tape player from my parents. I don't know who. But I love that. I'm pretty much going to listen to any homeschool mom that still has any curriculum on cassette tapes. So feel free to comment. If you have curriculum on cassette tapes, please let us know.
Yes. So even though Cindy considers me very organized here, I still have that curriculum in my attic. And here's the thing, because it's hidden and I don't go in my attic very often, I really need to get that out of there too. Mm-hmm. It's taking up space. However,
you don't notice it's taking up space.
I put things in my husband's garage too.
I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to touch the garage.
There's so much stuff that I just I put in
I
there.
keep the toilet paper and paper towels there. And he's always like, you bought 2 toilet papers at Costco, taking up space in the garage, the huge garage. I'm just glad that the laundry's not in there, because I'd get in big trouble with how much laundry we do. But this is great, because this is that season where it's time. It's time to go through this year's stuff. It's time to plan for next year.
Yes.
It's time to decide if you're going to do something on this summer, what you're going to do. We are going to do our poetry memorization curriculum we didn't get to this year. What are you guys going to do that you didn't get to this year?
Oh.
She probably gets to everything.
I did. We checked all the boxes.
Of course she did. So when you have 7 kids, I think you check all the boxes. Until then, we didn't get to a couple things. Like, we're going to finish up, I think with my middle one, I'm going to finish up so spelling. The older one, I'm going to finish up some vocab. We got about halfway through the book. We got about halfway through the Latin book. So I'm going to do the second half this summer.
And here's a veteran homeschool mom too tip. It's just let your child have a summer too. Just make sure you let their child have a summer.
I'm just not there yet, Jeanne.
Okay. Eventually.
I still have
your child. Do you remember summers when you were in public school? Like, it was just a nice time. Let your child have that.
Okay.
A little summer. If you're going to do poetry memorization, do it as a family and make it fun.
We are doing that. We're doing it at the dinner table.
And then it's not like, hey, sit and do your school.
Right,
it's like, hey, let's do this because it's fun, and that's fine. That's
okay, but what about the summer? What do they call it? The summer slide. Oh, everyone talks about the summer slide. What about that? I mean, there's things that we should do, right? So they don't slide. I feel like it works. When you're the teacher, you're so invested in like where they've gotten. You're like, slide. You're not going to slide on my watch. I spent all the time to get you there, right?
This was me.
Yeah. So what do you do to avoid summer slide?
I mean, one of the things that we do is we do the summer. What is this called? The summer bridge books.
Yes.
It's something that we've done for
the ones you get at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, they're like $10 a.
Yeah. So yeah, 10
$10 a workbook. Yeah. They include like 3 months of summer, and it's like 20 pages a month. So it's like every weekday, and it's like 10-15 minutes a day. It's really not much. And now I don't think we've ever gotten through an entire book.
But it's something.
Okay. And the other thing we do is we do fun read alouds. I think that's just like a family thing that we do. And we get through like 1 or 2, 3 books in the summer.
Okay. With the whole family, all the kids, everything.
Everything. Okay. Yeah. All the way from the 18-year-old to the, the baby doesn't do it, but maybe the 7-year-old that we do something. So one of the things we did last year was the Percy Jackson series.
Oh, so fun.
And it was and all of them enjoyed it. So it was fun. And so we'll do things like that.
What about their independent readers? What is your summer plan for that?
So when we do summer, I started in April, I think, I started paying my kids to read.
I love that.
So
I heard John Maxwell say that one time.
I did too. And that's where I got the idea.
I love it.
So we pay them $5 a book and I kind of like made it has to be 100 pages or over.
Okay.
And then we pay $5 a book for what you read.
Okay.
So like my 7-year-old's very motivated by the Dollar Tree.
Love it.
So he's already read 3 books since April.
I can imagine all the $15 of junk that's going to be in your house in his junk drawer.
No, he does it $5 at a time, but he gets 5 candies.
He goes for the candy every time?
Yes, every time.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's already done 3 trips of $5 candy.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So, but some of them save up, and it's also a way we don't do necessarily
allowance during
the year. So it's a way for them to just make a few extra dollars.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I think a lot of it's modeling too. So right now I'm going through the Harry Potter series.
Personally?
Yes.
Oh,
and I've read it through before, but
this is my
this is my 3rd or 4th time through the series, and it's just fun. But I try to pull it out and read it during the day, and they see it happening. And I think that modeling is a big thing with reading.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you for coming over and helping me with my stuff.
Absolutely.
This is that time of year, everybody. So get it done. Get rid of last year, move on, save what you're going to save, buy what you're going to buy, and finish it up and get started and have a fresh summer. Make your plans. Oh, one thing, our good friend that's in our community gave me the idea many years ago of a summer bucket list. I just have to share this. I'm so glad I remembered. I saw it in her house. She had this beautiful chalkboard, and she would be, I would consider someone like you that just has that perfect home, like you walk in, everything's organized. But I got that idea. So a summer bucket list, it was so fun. And not that you get to all of it, but just putting all the things you want to do on there, including whatever curriculum you want to get to. So that's a fun idea too.
It is. It's a good idea.
And she gave me that idea.
And by the way, if you want my help organizing, it's what, $70, $80 an hour, we said?
I think it's
I'm
going
done
market
with Chipotle
rate
now.
So. I mean, I bought her Chipotle lunch, but call her.
Sorry.
We love you guys so much. Get it done. It's good. Awesome. We love it. Get started for your next homeschooling year
Have a great
success.
summer.
Yeah. Love you guys.